Starting from where the last video left off, I was speaking on the point that no one is too far away or too opposed to be reached by God. And we're looking at the conversion of Saul, who became the Apostle Paul. I mentioned a missionary man called Jim Elliot, who had gone to Ecuador to reach out to the Oka Indians there. He and his companions, other missionary men, were all killed by these Indians. And it looked as if that situation was impossible to come against and to resolve. But in fact, the man who killed Jim Elliot himself became a Christian and indeed became pastor of the church in that area. And the whole of that tribe was transformed by the Christian faith and by many of its people coming to know Jesus for themselves. There are lots of examples of others who seemed far away in different ways and who were reached to come to faith in Jesus. St. Augustine was someone who was a very materialistic, well-off youth and who spent his early days living in a very wild way. He sowed his wild oats quite liberally, and yet he came to know Jesus through repentance and faith. He said of himself and of all of us, really, "You have made us for yourself, and our hearts are restless until they find the rest in you." That's what he discovered through his encounter with Jesus after his search for the meaning of life in pleasure. You've got someone else like C.S. Lewis, the Oxford academic of last century, who was a convinced atheist and argued against faith and against Jesus, but who encountered him and wrote the book Surprised by Joy about that and about other aspects of his Christian faith and experience. So in different ways, all these people seemed to be too far away to be reached by God to come to faith in Jesus, and yet they did. And so